I slept with him just for revenge, a married woman and a rich, handsome guy. But when I tried to leave, he pushed me into a deeper abyss. You can't leave me, or I'll make you wish you were never born. He said his love for me was destined from the moment we met until death. Jason Smith gripped the phone tightly and bolted outside. As soon as he reached the courtyard, the bodyguards surrounded him. Young master, madam. Shut up! Jason Smith, face flushed with fury, kicked away the nearest guard, raised the gun in his hand, loaded it with a snap, and snarled coldly, "Get the hell out of my way." Anyone who tries to stop Meg gets shot. But the guards still closed in. Bang! Bang! Jason Smith fired 2 shots, hitting the 2 closest guards in the legs. The others, realizing he was dead serious, hesitated and began to back off. "My car's outside," Carlos Mera said. As they retreated, the guards followed. Jason Smith fired another shot toward the lead guard, but this time, it was a warning shot. No one had ever doubted his aim. That shot alone made the rest of the guards freeze in place. His eyes were dark and fierce, rage pouring off him. It was clear he'd snapped. Anyone who blocked him, he'd take down. They had no choice but to let him go. If anything happened, they could just blame it on Carlos Mera anyway. "Get in first," Carlos Mera said. Jason Smith threw the door open and got in. Carlos Mera followed. The car spun in a slick U-turn at the gates, then roared off. Jason Smith was driving, his grip on the steering wheel so tight his knuckles turned white. The car flew down the road. Carlos Mera, terrified, said, Bro, slow down." Jason Smith stared ahead, not responding. His heart was burning, his mind torched with panic. He couldn't think about anything else. Running red light after red light, he reached the hospital in just over 20 minutes. The car screeched to a halt. He unbuckled and rushed into the emergency department. Car crash victims would be taken there first. Using Carlos Mera's phone, he called Kristen Cindy. Soon, he was following her to the surgery wing. The operating room doors were shut, like a wall between life and death. The red in-operation light glowed ominously. Jason Smith walked toward the doors. Kristen Cindy hurried to stop him. "Cousin?" Just then, the operating room doors slowly opened. "How is she?" Ana Mera jumped to her feet and rushed forward. Why are you coming out so soon?" Isabel Lopez had only been in surgery for a little over an hour. Could it be bad news? The doctor raised his hand and removed his mask, face full of regret. "I'm sorry. We tried everything. We couldn't save either the mother or the baby." Before he could finish, someone grabbed his collar. "What the hell did you just say?" Jason Smith's sharp eyes were wide with fury, his handsome face twisted. The doctor looked at the striking man in front of him. He looked familiar, but this was starting to feel like a medical riot. He said, "Are you family? Please calm down." Her injuries were too severe. She miscarried, lost too much blood, and her body took massive trauma. There was nothing more we could do. Jason Smith shoved him aside. The other doctors and nurses came out as well, but Jason Smith suddenly stormed into the operating room. "Cousin!" Bang! The door slammed shut behind him. "Cousin, what are you doing?" Kristen Cindy pounded on the door in panic. Inside, the thick scent of blood nearly drove Jason Smith insane. He dragged his heavy legs swayed by dread-on step at a time toward the operating table. For the first time in his life, he was afraid down to his very soul. He lifted the white sheet covering her. The sight of her broken body nearly dropped him to his knees. He wanted to go blind so he wouldn't have to see this cruel, devastating scene. His heart was shredded into 1,000 pieces, pain so deep it cut to the bone. Hands trembling, he gently touched her now cold lips. His eyes were already clouded with tears. It felt like, just a moment ago, she was curled lazily in his arms, telling him how sleepy she was, asking him not to come home too late. "Isabel, you said you'd wait for me. You promised you'd wait." His hand trembled as he caressed her face. He hated how still she was. The Isabel he knew was always full of life. From her spoiled charm at first sight to her blunt honesty, later he'd fallen hard for all of it. When you truly love someone, there's no logic to it. No matter what she does or says, in your eyes, she's always beautiful, always lovable, and he knew he loved her. From the first time he laid eyes on her, he was doomed to never let go. He didn't want much, just to stay by her side. But why? Why did even his closest family refuse to let that happen? Others get to love and be loved so easily. Why must we go through all this pain? Since life didn't go their way, then maybe in death there'd be no one left to stop them from being together. The underworld was too cold, too lonely. He couldn't bear to leave her there alone. And without Isabel Lopez, Jason Smith was just an empty shell. If living hurt more than dying, then why go on? He slowly lowered his head and gently kissed her lips. His deep eyes were full of final resolve. He stroked her face, his tear-filled eyes brimming with tenderness as he whispered hoarsely, "I'm sorry I was late, but it's okay. I'll catch up to you. Just wait for me, okay?" He already knew it was his refusal to yield that had pushed his mother over the edge. But it didn't matter anymore. That selfish, cruel woman had taken his wife and child. Now, he was taking something back her son. Fair, isn't it? Karma, isn't it? He picked up a surgical scalpel and smiled as he plunged it into his own chest. No pain. He bent over, half his body leaning on the operating table, tightly holding her hand. Blood flowed slowly, soaking through his white shirt. Smiling, he brought her hand to his lips and kissed it. "Isabel, I'm here. Wait for me. Wait." In life, never apart. In death, still side by side. His vision blurred, but he kept looking at her, memorizing her face, branding her into his bones, into his soul. In the next life, if they met again, he would love her all over again. Maybe on some random day in the future, they'd bump into each other on the street. Maybe she'd still throw a rock at his car. But when he got out, when they stood face to face, she'd ask, "Sir, you look really familiar. Have we met before?" Maybe he wouldn't even remember. But he'd fall for her all over again, smile and say, "Maybe in a past life, maybe we were madly in love." A faint smile tugged at Jason Smith's lips as he slowly closed his eyes. Where is he? Carlos Mera had only gone to lock the car. In just that short time, Jason Smith vanished along with his phone. He asked around. "Akin?" Anna Mera called out. "Wait, aren't you supposed to be overseas?" "Anna Mera!" Carlos Mera's eyes widened. He pointed at her. What are you doing here?" "I'm a friend of Isabel Lopez." "Where's Brother Jason? What happened?" "Brother Carlos Mera. The doctor said they couldn't save her or the baby. My cousin ran inside." Kristen Cindy sobbed. "What?" Carlos Mera looked at them, furious. "And you just let him go in there? Are you out of your minds?" "What's wrong?" Anna Mera and Kristen Cindy didn't get it. It was his final goodbye. Why stop him? Carlos Mera's brows furrowed. "He's going to die." As he spoke, he sprinted to the OR, lifted his foot and kicked hard, then backed up and slammed his body against the door. Bang! It burst open. They all rushed in. "Ah!" Kristen Cindy screamed at the sight. Carlos Mera ran forward and checked him, gritting his teeth. "Jason Smith, you son of Onstab, and you're done? Quick, get a doctor." Anna Mera shoved Kristen Cindy. She snapped out of it and ran off. "Carlos, I'm sorry." "Sorry, my ass. You don't care about your life, but we do. You playing goddamn games with your life." Jason Smith's eyes fluttered open, then slowly closed again. "I'm sorry, but without her, I can't go on." "You still have me, damn it. Even if she were dead, I'd drag her back for you." Kristen Cindy said on the phone it didn't seem that bad. "That's why I didn't run up here with you. And what do you do?" "Stab yourself first." Lucky for you, it missed the vital organs. Carlos Mera took a quick glance at the wound. Soon, doctors and nurses rushed in. "Dr. Liu, you're here too?" Cut the chatter. Prep for surgery. 2 patients. Move fast. In another operating room, the red light switched on. It stayed on for over 4 hours. Outside, the wait was excruciating. Kristen Cindy eventually called her Aunt Jason Smith's mother. Jason's mother was at her company when she got the news. Her vision went black, and she fainted. "Without her, I'll die." She could still hear her son's voice echoing in her mind, but she didn't believe it. She refused to believe it. In the end, he really did something stupid for that worthless woman. Ghost doctor Carlos Mera lived up to his name. Both Jason and Isabel's surgeries were a success. Jason Smith recovered in just 1 month and was discharged from the hospital. Isabel Lopez also survived, but she was in a coma for 2 months. Due to severe leg injuries, she was transferred overseas. Carlos Mera and his medical team accompanied her for follow-up treatment. The car responsible for the crash was identified, and the driver was arrested. Shockingly, he confessed that he'd been ordered by none other than Jason Smith's mother. The original plan was just to make Isabel Lopez miscarry, but the loss turned out far worse than expected. Jason Smith ultimately decided to leave it to the law. In the end, his mother was sentenced to 20 years in prison for hiring a hitman and attempted murder. The wildest part? Tony Camel still broke up with Latina Lopez. She couldn't get pregnant, so the Camel family forced him to marry a more suitable match. Guess that's Kama-some people dig their own graves. After a year abroad, Isabel Lopez's physical recovery and skin treatments went incredibly well. A year later, she and Jason Smith returned home and held their wedding in City A.